And we take a look at events across the border. The Botswana government seeking to fast-track the passage of the Criminal Procedure and Evidence Bill. The media in that country say the bill will stifle freedom of the press, trade unions and civil society. If passed into law, it will enable the state to intercept communication and force disclosure of information to state intelligence and law enforcement agencies.
In a joint statement, the Media Institute of Southern Africa, Press Council of Botswana and Botswana Editors Forum said the government is being dishonest and disingenuous. They say their main concern is that the bill will be passed without public scrutiny and input. The organizations further lament the fact that the Criminal Procedure and Evidence Bill is being debated under the certificate of agency rule. This means that it will be expedited through Parliament and not get enough scrutiny and interrogation from the public. Botswana's Defence, Justice and Security Minister presented the bill to Parliament on 12th January. The three media bodies say the legislation is replete with intonations that are not consistent with modern trends in democratic states. Botswana is largely regarded as one of the most stable democracies in Africa, despite being dominated by a single party since independence in 1966. However, the latest developments make the media, civil society and trade unionists more vulnerable, according to three media organizations.
To speak a little bit more about this, we're joined by Tefo Phatshwane. He is the Botswana Director of the Media Institute of Southern Africa, otherwise known as MISA. He speaks to us from Gaborone in Botswana. A very warm welcome to you, Tefo, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So before we get into what you're unhappy about, I want to talk about the bill itself, the Criminal Procedure and Evidence Bill. What exactly is it seeking to achieve according to your understanding?
Thank you very much and good evening. In short, the bill seeks to achieve a couple of things. Number one, they want to legalize to tap on people's phones, personal lives. Secondly, they want to allow legally for people to have multiple identity cards and passports, where one person might have 2 or 3 passports or identity cards, and those will be regarded as legal because they'll be issued by the Department of Immigration.
What would be the rationale for that, having multiple identity cards? I thought the objective was to reduce the number of identity cards that one would have if you are talking about security.
We still don't understand the rationale behind introducing that scary conduct. There's possibilities that people are coming up with certain opinions about it, and most political parties and civil society are concerned regarding the upcoming elections. How is this new attitude or these new activities are going to affect our elections? And just generally, how is it going to affect Botswana's passport across the world? And how will other countries that receive Botswana know that is this a legit passport or is the one that we're faked? So it is unheard of under normal circumstances that the government will want to push for that. Yeah.
I believe that the media in particular will be forced to not only divulge their sources, but also be compelled to, or rather their communications will be intercepted. Talk to us a little bit more about this, and will a warrant be required to do this?
Yes. It is going to affect media negatively. Number one is, as you know, especially investigative journalists, they rely on anonymous sources. And in this instance now, the investigating agencies or security agents will have legal power to intercept and listen to information. In that case, people will be afraid now to give journalists information. And that then has some implications. Issues of corruption will not be reported on because nobody is willing to give information because they're scared of doing that. And look, there has been a proper procedure that we've been using and is used globally, where if investigating agencies wants to get information about you, they go to the courts and request for a warrant. And they have to give valid reasons why they need to go through your personal stuff. And they're normally given a go-ahead. So we don't understand why now they want to discard a proper channel that protects people's personal lives, protects people's freedoms. So that is what is scaring people, that we're seeing these things that will actually invade everybody's privacy.
So is it your understanding that this new bill, the controlled investigation bill, will then do away with that, the need for a warrant from the judiciary? And when we talk about those who have access to it, talk to us, is it just the state intelligence and law enforcement agencies, or will there be other officials who will be able to gain access?
Look, the law, like I said earlier, it nullifies the existing process. They don't need to go to court now to get a warrant to go for their investigations. They already have the law that gives them the power to intercept or go ahead with an investigation without even your knowledge. That's one of the things that it gives them. You wouldn't be alerted or made aware that there's an investigation against you on this matter. Unlike now, when that happens, you also have a chance to go to court with your lawyers and listen and have your own voice to say or answer to what they are coming up with. So this new law, if passed in Parliament, will put that out completely.
And this this discussion is taking place in Parliament, I understand, under the certificate of urgency rule. What does that mean in terms of A, transparency, but B, how it will impact how the bill itself will be passed?
Look, there are countries around the world who have that kind of similar law, but it's different. It doesn't give absolute power to investigating officers. You understand? So, number one is why is it an emergency to come up with this kind of law before the government goes to engage Botswana about this law and explain to them in detail why they need this law? So it raises eyebrows that this law, it is brought on an agency matter. Which shouldn't be the case. It's a law that deals with the fundamentals of human rights. It should be given respect and that it deserves. The people must get involved and be consulted. The president of Botswana, when he got into power in 2019, he said he's going to lead the country with consultation from Botswana. Why can't he do what he said he wants to do?
Therefore, this certificate of urgency, will it allow for public consultation, and will people be able to appeal to members of parliament to shelve it?
There is no laid out process of discussing this bill. The bill will only be discussed by members of parliament. Because it has passed through, there's a process before the debate starts. It's read, I think, 3 times before, and then they vote. They voted with good numbers for them to move ahead. So the bill will be debated in Parliament, I think, from next week. And the public will only rely on members of Parliament in terms of their debate and voting, because at the end of the debate, they vote on whether they pass the law or not. The public is left behind. That is what we're complaining about, that we shouldn't be rushing laws that affect the fundamental human rights. We should do proper consultation with the people.
I understand that a significant number of governing party members were absent from the first round of voting. What was the implication of this?
Look, the BDP has enough numbers, even if a good number of their members don't attend parliament. Yes, we still don't know the reasons why most of them chose to stay out. Maybe we could just speculate to say maybe they're against it, but are afraid, because how it works here is there's a party caucus, and party caucus, the party comes up with a stand. Mostly the stand is dictated by the president. So you have to vote along the party lines. No matter how the law is or doesn't make sense, you have to vote. If the party wants that law, you have to support the party and vote. The only way you can dodge it is by not attending parliament at that time or abstaining from voting.
Okay. So let's just take a look at Botswana's media freedom record over the past couple of years. Have members of the Fourth Estate enjoyed some level of freedom to go about doing their jobs and not face fear of, as this new law lays out, interception of their communication? And could it lead to criminal or some sort of legal prosecution for being in possession of information that may be deemed as threatening to the state?
Yes, we haven't had many cases of journalists being imprisoned. A couple of years ago, yes, there were some that were harassed by the police. They were held in cells for maybe a week or so without any charges. But in terms of the laws that are in place, we don't have one of the basic laws in democracy, freedom of information law. That means now journalists do not have a right to information. Not just journalists, but citizens don't have the right to information from government. So the government gives you what they feel is okay for you to have and share with the public. So we've engaged government for decades to come up with this law. The current president promised during 2019 elections that he will bring this law and make sure that it's implemented. But we're still here. 3 years later, we still don't have that law. And we have another draconian law in place called the Media Practitioners Act of 2008. So this act gives the minister powers to regulate journalists. We objected to the law, and the law has been inoperable because it had to have certain agencies or organizations as making part of the committee that will then sit and decide who is a journalist and who's not allowed to practice. Law Society of Botswana pulled back. It was one of the core organizations to be part of that. They pulled back, giving a reason that they are not journalists, so they can't regulate a profession they know nothing about. And this law has been inoperable for more than 10 years. We've engaged with government to try to repeal it. And a couple of times, members of opposition have presented the bill in parliament to repeal the law and come up with something else, or let what we've been advocating for, the media to regulate themselves. Just like other professions in Botswana, they have their own regulatory bodies. Medicine, they do. Engineers, architects, they do. So the question was, why then will the government allow other professions to regulate themselves and not allow the media to regulate themselves? They've come up with a new bill that they've shared with us to discuss. We are to give our response back to the Minister of Presidential Affairs regarding the new proposed bill. But still, look, we cannot allow government to be part of our regulation. We should be taking the lead. All the government needs to do is put the law in place that gives us power to regulate ourselves and to correct and prosecute and suspend or anything, just in case there are some instances that need us to do that. We're still lagging behind as a so-called democracy. That's where we are.
Right, therefore, thank you so much for speaking to us. Tefo Phatshwane is the Director of the Media Institute of Southern Africa in Botswana.